the Nike Free Metcon 6 versus the Nike Metcon 9. Which should you go with? So 4 major construction differences to note between these shoes include number 1, their midsoles and how that's going to translate to their performance. So in the Nike Free Metcon 6, you have a Nike Free midsole that runs throughout the entirety of this shoe. This gives the forefoot and midfoot a lot more flexibility, and it makes the shoe a lot more form-fitting. And then back here in the heel, it's a little bit more of a platform and more dense for lifting and stability purposes. This model's midsole is a lot more plush than the Nike Metcon 9, so it's going to give you a softer and more plush ride for daily wear, running, and training. In the Nike Metcon 9, you have a dual density midsole, so essentially on the outskirts of this shoe, the midsole is very dense and stable. On the internal part, it's a little bit more plush, and then as you transition into the midfoot and heel, you also have this TPU plate for additional stability. This is designed to give you max stability when you're lifting and training, but it also takes away from the shoe's comfort regarding daily wear, running, and cross training. So the midsoles are going to be very different in each of these shoes. It's going to be a lot more plush and soft in the Nike Free Metcon 6 and a lot more stable and dense in the Nike Metcon 9. The second major difference to note between these shoes is how they're going to be used in the gym. The Nike Free Metcon 6 is going to be your best bet for cross training, HIIT classes, short runs, daily wear, etc. Anytime we have a shoe that's a little bit more lightweight and responsive, that's going to be a shoe that we can use in those verticals, and it's going to feel a little bit more comfortable. This shoe is also a lot more form-fitting to the foot, so it moves really well with the foot, especially through the forefoot and midfoot. I find this model to be a little bit more flexible than even the Free Metcon 4 and 5, which also had pretty good flexibility to them. In the Nike Metcon 9, this is going to be a model primarily reserved for lifting, CrossFit, and then some cross training. Because we have this TPU plate here, it takes away from this model's overall functionality regarding its ability to be comfortable for daily wear and running. And then also with the shoe, you have upper overlays that it's going to give it a lot more durability in that vertical. So if you need a shoe for CrossFit and lifting, Nike Metcon 9 will be your best bet. The third major difference to note is their upper constructions. So in the Nike Free Metcon 6, you have a much more lightweight mesh and textile upper that goes from the forefoot into the midfoot, and then you also have this padded boot back here. There is a booty style construction in this shoe, and you also have flywire tech on the 5 eyelets of this model. This upper does a really good job at hugging the foot. It feels very sock-like, and so if you are a fan of sock-like fitting shoes, I think you will resonate with that, and it locks the foot down pretty well when you're training. So it's going to be a little bit more lightweight and form-fitting compared to the Nike Metcon 9, which has this chain link mesh, haptic overlays over the forefoot, and then we have a padded boot back here and rubber overlays on the medial and lateral side. These materials give this shoe a much more heavier build and feel, and there's less breathability. So if breathability and a form-fitting upper is a big concern for you, the Nike Free Metcon 6 will be your better bet. The fourth major difference to note between these shoes is their sizing and fit. In both models, you should be safe going true to size in both these shoes. However, the Nike Metcon 9 is going to fit a little bit wider compared to the Free Metcon 6, and then something to note also with the Free Metcon 6 is that it does have a bit more arch. And so now all that said, if you have a narrow, medium, or slightly wider foot width, both shoes will work. True to size is the call. But the Nike Metcon 9 is going to have a little bit more width through the forefoot, and the Nike Free Metcon 6 is going to have a little bit more arch. All right, so now let's dive into some performance differences between these shoes. Which model is better for lifting? I'm sure you can probably already guess, but the Nike Metcon 9 is going to be your best bet if you need a shoe primarily for strength training. So if you are doing heavy barbell work, heavy machine work, go with the Nike Metcon 9. This midsole is going to give you more stability. You also have a blocker heel back here to really plant that heel when you're training. And then you also have a full rubber tread with the exception of this break here at the midfoot. This tread does an exceptional job at gripping different surfaces. So whether you're training on wooden platforms, rubber gym floors, or using machines, this shoe should be really great regarding its stability and grip for your needs. The Nike Free Metcon 6 you can definitely lift in, but you're gonna have some thresholds there with the midsole being stable. Generally speaking, if I'm going over 400 pounds, I'll start to notice this midsole start to compress, so I would say cap your loading there. Also, you don't have as much rubber tread on the shoe. If you're doing a lot of heavy forefoot work, for example, you will have some exposed foam there. It's not gonna compromise grip per se, but you can run into some durability issues, which I'll talk about in a second. So all that said, if you're much more recreational with your lifting, or you just do strength training sometimes throughout the week, but you're not super serious with your loading and whatnot, the Nike Free Metcon 6 can work fine. All right, so now which model is better for CrossFit? Undisputed, Nike Metcon 9 is gonna take the win here. It's gonna give you more durability for the needs of CrossFit, and it has more stability once again for heavier wads. Now I will say the Nike Free Metcon 6 can work for wads where you don't have a ton of abrasion on the forefoot, or you're not doing any form of sled sled work. This model can have some durability issues up here in the forefoot, and I worry that if you're doing any form of like rope climbing and stuff, you'll burn through this midsole. So if you have WODs where you're running or doing lighter dumbbell or barbell work or like barbell cycling, the Nike Free Metcon 6 can work. It's just not necessarily an optimized CrossFit shoe. Now, which model is better for cross training? That's where the Nike Free Metcon 6 is going to take the edge. It's a lot more breathable and it's very flexible and plush and responsive. So if you're jumping a ton, if you're doing jump rope classes, whatever it might be, this shoe is going to feel a lot more versatile. It feels very much more athletic on the foot compared to the Nike Metcon 9, because with the Nike Metcon 9, we have this TPU plate and it kind of tanks this shoe's performance for plyometrics or any form of workout where you might be having some heel contact there. It's really uncomfortable, and if you've ever worn the Nike Metcon 9 and then worn a shoe that's a lot more versatile or flexible, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So if you're buying a shoe primarily for cross training, Nike Free Metcon 6 is going to be the winner hands down. Now, what I will say is with the Free Metcon 6, if you're doing heavy sled work, be very conscious of this midsole up here in the forefoot. I've had both of my shoes start to split from stress in the forefoot, and it's starting to pull this midsole apart. So if you are big with sleds, or if you're big on training outdoors and doing a lot of forefoot heavy plyos, keep a close eye on that, because you might need to get that replaced if your pair also breaks down really fast. All right, so now which model is better for short runs? Nike Free Metcon 6 is taking the win here. It's undisputed here. So this model works really great for sprints, short intervals, 1, 2, even 3-mile runs. This model's heel has a beveling, and it's way less, like, I would say clunky or hoof-like the Nike Free Metcon 4 and 5. So I actually think that this model is a little bit more runnable. And then also with the Nike Flywire up here in the eyelets, it does have a nice feel through the midfoot for your running context and needs. The Nike Metcon 9, this is like running in a cinder block. You can use it for short intervals, sure, if you're very heavy on the forefoot, but if you are a heel striker, if you're using this model for slower runs, God bless, because it is going to beat your feet up. Now, which model is best for daily wear? Nike Free Metcon 6 is again taking the win. Basically anything where you want more comfort, more flexibility, more breathability, and just more functionality, the Nike Free Metcon 6 is going to take the win. It's just an all-around better shoe. Nike Metcon 9, it's not comfortable for walking, this heel is going to click, and it's just very heavy, so it's not the most breathable option on the market. When it comes to price differences in these shoes, you can expect to pay around $150 for the Nike Metcon 9 and $120 for the Nike Free Metcon 6. The Metcon 9 has seen a price hike from $130 over the last year, whereas the Free Metcon 6 has remained relatively stable. Again, the prices for these shoes I think can make sense. It just really comes down to your use cases, so make sure you cross-reference your performance needs with the prior section before dropping money on these shoes. You can also look into the prior iterations if you want to save money, so if you don't necessarily have a need for the wider forefoot in the Metcon 9, look into the 8, you can typically find them on sale, and so if you don't necessarily care about the wider midfoot in the Nike Free Metcon 6 or the softer ride of this shoe, then you can look into the Nike Free Metcon 4 and 5, and those models will also have some nice steep sales. So when it comes to sizing and fit in the Nike Metcon 9 and Nike Free Metcon 6, if you have narrow, medium, or slightly wider feet, true to size will be the call for you in these shoes. For context, I have a normal arch and an E to double E with foot. I find both of these shoes to fit plenty fine for my needs. Now, a couple of caveats here. Number one, the midfoot on the medial side of the Nike Metcon 9, it can kind of collapse at times. So if you do like having a bit more arch, that would definitely be something to consider with this shoe. Also, we do have a slightly lower volume up here in the forefoot. So if you have a very thick forefoot, that would also be something to consider with the Nike Metcon 9. You might want to look into other options. With the Nike Free Metcon 6, two considerations. Number one, it's not going to have the widest end of the forefoot. So if you do have a very blocky foot, you might want to consider that, or even go up a half size to potentially have a better fitting shoe for your needs. And then also there is a little bit of arch in the shoe. So if you have a flat foot, or if you just don't like any form of arch in your shoes, that would definitely be something to consider before buying the Nike Free Metcon 6. All right, y'all, that wraps up my comparison of the Nike Free Metcon 6 versus the Nike Metcon 9. If you need a shoe for CrossFit and lifting, go Metcon 9. If you need a shoe for versatility, cross-training HIIT classes, short runs, etc., Nike Free Metcon 6 will be your best bet. I have individual reviews for both of these shoes. They're going to be linked down below, so definitely check those out. And if you have additional questions on either of these models and which you should go with, or if you're not certain on if you should go with one of these or a different shoe entirely from a different company, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always, y'all, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.